Welcome to another live stream here on Metal Ben's Chronicles. And I pretty much thought of this maybe 4 hours ago. I was actually watching a live stream, or it was just a regular video maybe, earlier today. The channel is Bryce Talks Metal. He had Pete Pardo on there from Sea of Tranquility. And they were talking about some of their favorite debut thrash metal albums. And I figured I'd talk about mine. I digged out a lot of stuff here. Nothing's in no particular order here. Now, some of or there might be a couple in here that are debatable if you want to actually call them thrash metal or not. I mean, it's up for debate, I guess. But yeah, man, anyways, we're going to get started. The radio stream from last night. I'm not taking it down, but I could not sit through and listen to it. The sound quality was so terrible. I apologize for that. I didn't know. And pretty much when I was setting it up, I didn't know what I was doing. So now I'm going to read into it to see on how you actually do it. So maybe next time we can get a better sound, you know. So by the way, I hope this setup looks okay. I'm trying to add some more light to the streams, you know. Anyways, yeah, man, I got a lot of stuff here. A mixture of vinyl, cassettes, mainly CDs. I'm going to pick up the first one right here. Yeah. Now, a lot of this stuff I've already shown in previous videos, obviously, but you know what? It is what it is. You know. Heck, I picked this one up. Let's talk about Uncle Slam's debut, Say Uncle, from 1988. Has members of Suicidal Tendencies in it. More of a crossover thrash, but man, is this an excellent debut. If you like Suicidal Tendencies, pertainly albums like Join the Army, you will definitely like this Uncle Slam release. Excellent debut here. Excellent crossover thrash. Yeah, it's really good stuff in my humble opinion. Now, this is one of them where I'm debating whether I want to call it thrash or not. And I'm talking about the debut by Razor, Armed and Dangerous. Because on this, they hadn't quite found their sound yet. And there is a lot of new wave of British heavy metal influence on here, obviously. I mean, there is some thrashy tunes on here, but it's mainly, to me, more of a new wave of British heavy metal sounding release, you know. So it's really up to debate if you want to actually call this thrash metal. Obviously, albums after that, you know, definitely would morph into that thrash metal sound, obviously. And their albums would keep getting more faster, more brutal, and more intense as they went on, you know. All right, we got John Lucio in the house. Heck yeah. I am going to be adding a lot more thrash metal on this channel. Because you know what? Freaking thrash metal is my favorite genre of metal. Thrash metal, the new wave of British heavy metal, you know. And are definitely two of my favorites. I like this new wave of American heavy metal, too, that's been sweeping, you know, the shores for the last decade or so. Anyways, up next, we got the debut by Sepultura, Morbid Visions. Now, on this, you know, you definitely get a Celtic Frost worship on this. Now, well, naturally, because Celtic Frost's debut album is called Morbid Tales, and this is called Morbid Visions. So yeah, I mean, this right here is very raw, man. You could even call this a predecessor to what you would hear in Norwegian black metal in a lot of ways. It's that raw. I mean, they're actually playing out of tune on this freaking album. Max said, you know, he never realized it when they were making the album, you know, and laying down the guitar tracks, that, you know, him and Jerry O's guitar playing were out of tune. But he thought it sounded cool, so Yeah, this is definitely a very raw album, not for everyone. And of course, you got the Bestial Devastation EP on the back, which is absolutely excellent. So yeah, I would definitely say this is a predecessor to Black and Thrash. Indeed. It does. I agree. It does fit very well. I absolutely agree. Okay, up next. Speaking of Black and Thrash early on in their careers, about some Creator with Endless Pain. Again, another very raw album. You know, Jurgen actually does some lead vocals on here, the drummer. You know, just very raw stuff right here. This is an excellent debut by Creator, in my opinion. It's one of my favorite debuts when it comes to thrash metal. You know, I mean, again, it definitely has that early blackened thrash type of feel to it. The vocals are very raw and raspy, like black metal almost. So, yeah, the debut by Creator, an excellent debut in my humble opinion. Okay, up next. Well, we got the debut from Overkill. That's obviously not the original. This is a Mega Force reissue with the Fuck You EP on it. But we got Fill the Fire by Overkill, which came out in 1985, the debut. I mean, technically the EP is actually the debut, but from '84. But Fill the Fire is the full length. Actually, that EP's on here also. Now, it's kind of weird on this album. I think the production's very similar to Anthrax's Spreading the Disease. I really do. And I believe the same. I think Carl Kennedy produced this. But yeah, production wise, it does sound a lot like Spreading the Disease, in my opinion. It's a great debut. I love it. However, I think the next album's their best album, Taking Over. I mean, my God, you got great tracks on here like Rotten to the Gore, Fatal of, or no, that's the next album. Well, technically it's on the EP too, Fatal of Swallowed. But yeah, you got Hammerhead, Rotten to the Gore, you know. Yeah, you got Overkill 1 on here. Yeah, great debut in my opinion. Hell yeah, man. Okay, up next. No, it's not a full length debut. Because I don't own it. I gotta get it again. I did have it, but I don't have it anymore. Of course, Infernal Overkill was Destruction's debut album, but I do have Sentenced of Death, the EP from '84. Again, you talk about something that is a predecessor to black and thrash metal. This definitely is. This thing's very raw. However, I think Destruction's much different compared to Creator and Sodom because, Destruction has more of a classical influence when it comes to their playing. But this is still some very brutal stuff. Very raw stuff. I mean, Smear's vocals sound absolutely killer. Very raspy and raw. Excellent EP right here. Excellent EP. I mean, Total Disaster is a killer opener to this album. Black Mass is killer. You got Mad Butcher, Satan's Vengeance, and Devil's Soldier. Great EP. I love the rawness of it, man. Okay, up next. Now, this one right here is a freaking brilliant debut album, if I must say so. I'm talking about the debut by Death Angel, the Ultra Violent. You talk about some killer thrash metal. And man, these guys were like literally in high school when they made this freaking debut album. I think Andy Gallen, the drummer at the time, was only like 15 or 16 when he recorded this. Impressive. I mean, my goodness. What more could be said about this? Excellent debut album by Death Angel. Top notch thrash metal here, you know. I mean, my goodness, you got some killer tracks on here like Thrasher's the opening track. Evil Priest, Killer's One, Mistress of Pain, Final Death, you know. What an excellent debut. I'm telling you, man. Right on, man. That's what we like to hear. Okay, up next, another one that came out in 1987 too, and recently got reissued again. Talking about the debut by Sacred Reich, Ignorance. Definitely their most aggressive album. You know, this one's just straight up thrash. You know, they would kind of tone down their style after this for a bit more mid-paced, you know, a bit more of a mid-paced type of sound, you know, after this album. But this one is definitely straight up thrash. You know, if you like Slayer, you can hear a lot of Slayer influence on this. Early Metallica, you know. But man, oh man, is this good stuff. Yes, Ignorance is definitely a great debut album by Sacred Reich. Ooh, moving on back to the crossover. And boy, if this album came out today, holy cripe, would the PC culture be shitting themselves. SOD Speak English or Die. Yes, this is the gold edition. I bought this way back in 1999. You know, it's got a bunch of bonus shit on it. Oh man, if this came out today, people would be having a fit, dude. I'm telling you what. It's so anti-politically correct, you know. It's politically incorrect. That's the word I'm looking for. That's what this debut is by SOD, but my goodness, it's a classic. I used to listen to this motherfucker like crazy when I was in freaking high school, man. Everybody else is into grunge. I'm listening to freaking SOD, you know. But yeah, an excellent album indeed. Up next, obviously Megadeth, Killing Is My Business, and Business Is Good. Again, another very raw album. Dave was very pissed off on this freaking album. And you can tell in the writing. I'll tell you what, man, Dave Mustaine, definitely one of the best rhythm guitar players. Also, I mean, we know Dave for his lead guitar work. My God, let's talk about the technical prowess of his rhythm guitar playing. It's off the charts. It's very complicated to play. I mean, I've been playing guitar for 28 years now, and I still have trouble playing a lot of Megadeth songs on guitar, especially on this freaking album. Dave's riffs are insane on here, especially on tracks like Last Rites, Love to Death. You know, the title track, Killing Is My Business, just insane, complicated rhythm guitar playing that definitely matches up with what a lot of lead guitar players would do, you know? Yeah, Dave's definitely one of the best, one of the originators of thrash metal, you know? But I don't gotta say much more about this. This is just a ferocious thrash speed metal album, man. Okay, now, we just talked about this album a couple days ago, but you know what? It's in the list because it's one of my favorite thrash metal debuts. I'm talking about Show No Mercy by Slayer. You know, if you watched my Slayer album ranking, I put this at number 2. I love this freaking album, man. I mean, like I said in my review or my album ranking, you know, this is definitely more new wave of British heavy metal style, like, and it's got like a big Kill 'Em All type of influence on here. Now, Kill 'Em All came out a few months earlier than this. I think Kill 'Em All dropped in July of '83, and this came out in December of '83. So yeah, one of the earliest thrash metal albums to come out too. And yeah, this is pretty much a different Slayer compared to the other albums. I really enjoy it. It's a great debut. Excellent. So Megadeth got you into thrash. Megadeth was one of the first to got me into thrash. Obviously, it was Metallica. I think the second thrash band I heard was Anthrax, actually. Then Megadeth, something like that. Up next, I got this Roadrunner reissue here of Exhorder's Slaughter in the Vatican, which also has the Law on it. But Slaughter in the Vatican being the debut album by Exhorder, right there's the actual album cover, obviously. This thing is a freaking excellent thrash metal album, man. I don't know why it gets called a groove metal album. It doesn't make sense to me why, this Exhorder album is considered groove metal. This thing's brutal, man. And come on, man, let's be realistic here. Put Slaughter in the Vatican up side by side against Cowboys from Hell. Because, Pantera's always accused of ripping Exhorder off. I'm sorry, man. Slaughter in the Vatican's way faster than Cowboys from Hell. I'm just saying, it's a thrash album. Debate over. Let's move on. Right on, man. That's how I am, too. I like Show No Mercy more than Rain and Blood. But moving on. Now, I got this Hollow Z box set from Metal Blade Records. I bought this about 15 years ago when it came out. Well, it's got the debut album on here, Tales of Terror. Just seeing if there's an actual picture of the album cover in here. Kind of forget. Okay, I guess not. Well, anyways, this is a reissue with the first three Hollow's Eve albums that were put out on Metal Blade Records. Excuse me, there. And this is the live CD. Okay, wrong CD. It's on this CD. Okay. But it's got Tales of Terror and Death and Insanity on here. Okay, right there it is. Tales of Terror. The debut by Hollow's Eve this spring. This debut is freaking good. Came out in early 85, Plunging to Megadeth is a killer opening track. That's just fast and ferocious. Man. You got other excellent tracks on here too, man. Valley of the Dolls. It's very hard to read these tracks on here. Yeah, Valley of the Dolls. Metal Merchants. Okay, that's the track I was thinking of. That's an absolutely killer track too, man. Yes, this is debuted by Hollow's Eve is freaking killer. Excellent thrash metal, Definitely recommend you pick this up too if you can still find it. The 3 CD DVD version, where you get bonus stuff on here too, demo material. Anyways, moving on now. Man, I see a lot of people diss this freaking album. I don't get it. I mean, I get it to an extent, I guess, but I always loved the debut by Anthrax, Fistful of Metal. And a lot of people bitch about Neil Turbin's vocals. I think his vocals are great on here. Yeah, Joey Belladonna is a better vocalist, don't get me wrong, but I'd still like this album. The only one they did with Neil Turbin on vocals and Danny Lilker on bass. Danny Lilker would go on to do Nuclear Assault, SOD, Brutal Truth, The Ravenous, and a bunch of other bands, But man, this is a freaking excellent debut. I mean, yeah, it's probably the weakest out of the big four because I did put it in last place, but I still really enjoy this album. My God, there's great tracks on here like Death Rider, Panic, Soldiers of Metal. Um, Death from Above's freaking awesome. The Subjugator. I mean, this is a good album. And it's what it is, whatever. Up next, moving on, we got Flotsam and Jetstam's Doomsday for the Deceiver, which has Jason Newsted on bass, obviously, who would go on to be here, go on to join Metallica. Oh my god, excellent stuff on here, like Iron Tears, Flotzilla. Oh geez, what else? Well, they have a track called Fade to Black too, but it's not the Metallica Fade to Black. But man, this is an excellent debut. What more could be said? One of the best metal albums to come out of 1986. I mean, and it's a great debut, man. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of excellent stuff on here. And speaking of Flotsam and Jetstam, they got a new album coming out in June. I can't wait till that comes out. And you know, a good point was brought up in that video I watched earlier. You know, when it comes to Flotsam and Jetstam, it seems like a lot of their catalog gets ignored. And this album's only the vocal point because, or, you know, the vocal point or focal point because it has Jason Newsted on it, who went on to be in Metallica, obviously. But man, Flotsam and Jetstam has a lot of other great albums. Especially their last few albums that have come out lately have been excellent. So yeah, definitely check those out. Up next, we got the debut by Nuclear Assault. Game Over. Excellent crossover thrash metal debut. One of the greatest debuts ever. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, such good stuff. Hank the Pope. Short little fast track, obviously, you know. After the Holocaust. Another excellent track. My America. Vengeance. Brain Death. You talk about a great album, man. A great debut. Yes. Get it. I recommend it. You know what to do. Oh yes, Forbidden. That's another one I need to buy again. Forbidden Evil. I used to have it. I don't have it no more. So that's one on the list that I definitely need to buy again. Because that is an excellent debut album. I definitely agree. I can't remember why I sold it at the time. I really regret selling it. Because it's such a great album. Anyways, up next. Turn it over here. Because again, I got one of these Roadrunner reissues again. That has the first two Annihilator albums on it, Alice in Hell and Never Neverland. But obviously the 1989 debut album by Annihilator, Alice in Hell. Which I believe was like, oh man. I want to say Alice in Hell was like 4 or 5 years in the making. It really was. But man, is this a great debut album. Jeff Waters, easily one of the best thrash metal guitar players on the planet. Just the way the guy plays. It's weird. He plays so smoothly, you know what I mean? He's so crisp, you know? And you go through and you listen to all the Annihilator albums, they sound so perfect. Like the guitar on them. Like he doesn't miss a beat, you know what I mean? And that's what you get here with the debut. Now, Annihilator's another one of those bands, you know, that their first two albums get mentioned over their other material because they got a lot of good albums if you look into their discography. Like the main ones you hear about are Alice in Hell and Never Neverland, rightfully so because they're classic thrash metal albums. set the world afire. They kind of slowed down a bit, but it's still a really good album. But man, you got a lot of other great albums like King of the Kill, Criteria for a Black Widow, Carnival, Diablos, the recent album they put out last year. You know, yeah, they got a pretty hefty discography. Now, not everything's perfect, obviously, but I think Annihilator has a lot of really good albums. And I think there's a reason why they didn't become big because of the constant lineup changes. I mean, 4 albums into their career, each album had a different vocalist. But anyways, Alice in Hell is a tremendous debut. I mean, what more could be said? Wicked Mystics, Killer, Word Salad, Schizos Are Never Alone, Part 1 and 2, great stuff. Human Insecticide, obviously the title track. Yeah. Now here's another one. Here is another one that's debatable if you want to call it thrash metal or not. Some call it power metal, some call it power thrash. I'm talking about the debut by Metal Church. Man, is this thing freaking good. Another album that's just riff-tastic. I do think this is more of a thrash metal album compared to, future albums. David Wade, though, what a vocalist. Rest in peace. Yeah, there's excellent riffs on here. You got great stuff on here like Merciless Onslaught, the instrumental, Battalions, They do a sped up cover of Deep Purple's Highway Star. You got Gods of Wrath, which is a more melodic track. The title track, Metal Church, Beyond the Black. What a great album, man. Produced by Terry Date, too, Just freaking good, solid thrash metal. Heavy metal, power metal, whatever you want to call it. Still a damn good album, though. Now, here's another one, too. It's another one of them albums. Is it thrash metal or is it speed metal? And this did come out before Kill 'Em All. And it's quite fast. I'm talking about the debut by Exciter, Heavy Metal Maniac. Yes, you talk about a fucking ferocious debut that was released on Sharpell Records back in the day. I mean, there's some freaking really fast stuff on here, man, for the time. But again, it's one of them albums. Is it thrash metal or is it just speed metal? It's debatable. I still put it here because I think it's an excellent debut. It's really good stuff. Oh yeah, Beyond the Black's an excellent track. Fuck yeah. Now, this one right here I kind of threw in here because this could be considered an early death metal album too, to be honest. I'm talking about Incubus with Serpent Temptation. Came out in 1988. Great debut. I mean, this might be leaning more towards death metal, but there is a lot of thrash influence on here, definitely. You talk about a good debut, though. Man. Just some furious stuff on here, man. I'm telling you. Yep. And like I like to say, the real Incubus. Not that garbage pop commercial band that goes by the same freaking name. But yeah, man, this is an excellent debut, man. Really fast, really brutal, and to the point, Okay. Like I threw a bunch of stuff in here. Hey, man, we got some Dr. Fuck here for you. Some Ralph Vieira here, man. Great YouTuber. But I threw in his debut, Thrash or Die, Poser Holocaust. Excellent, excellent thrash metal here. Thrash metal that's not taken too seriously, and that's not the intent, or that's the intent, to have a good time with this music. And this is definitely thrash metal greatness, in my opinion. I know a lot of people have mixed opinions about Thrash or Die. I mean, but there's some cool tracks on here, posers. Oh yeah, no posers allowed. Obviously, a great track. You get Zombie Assault, one of my favorites on here. The Return of the Thrash Lord. Like, you can tell this is just supposed to be a fun thrash metal album, but it's brutal as fuck, you know? And my favorite track on here is probably Ripped to Pieces, man. That's a brutal freaking track, dude. But yet, Thrash or Die with Poser Holocaust. Now, here's a newer band, that came out here in the last couple years. I actually really like this debut. The band's called Ritual Servant. Very good stuff. This came out on Rock's Records. Now, it might be a turnoff if you don't like Christian thrash metal, but this is some damn good Christian thrash metal. And me, if it's thrash metal, I don't care if it's Christian, satanic, it doesn't really matter. If it's good, it's good. And that's just how I feel. I really enjoy this, though. Very good debut. They are working on a follow-up, So yeah, I definitely recommend checking out Ritual Servant, especially if you like Slayer, if you like early Metallica, it's got a lot of that influence. Really good stuff. Now, here's one nobody's going to know because this is a band from my area that's very cult. They've been around since 1988. They actually had a couple demos out, released in that time frame. I think they put out 2 demos in 88 and 1 in 91. But here's their first full length. And a good friend of mine, Jason Corby, used to play bass for these guys. Fatal Aggression. Yeah, a lot of people aren't going to know about this. I'll say this, if you like Sacred Reich and Anthrax, I think you would enjoy this. It's definitely in that style, or a band like Acid Rain, it's got the melodic vocals like Anthrax, it's got the heavy, pummeling riffs like Sacred Reich and Anthrax, obviously. But yeah, that's a band right here from my area. They are from Reading, Pennsylvania. Not very far from me. Yeah, now this CD is very rare to find. I got it because I know the band. But man, I saw a copy on eBay one time. I think it was selling for like over $100. That's the way I feel, never distracted me from listening to a lot of the bands that I like. Now here's another band. These guys are from Brazil. They formed in 1997. And I got to thank Mark G with the C for getting me into this band. Wazzalum. Really good thrash metal band. If you're into Megadeth, I definitely recommend you check this out. Definitely has a strong Rust in Peace type of vibe going on here. You can get a little bit of like Exodus and a little bit of an Exodus influence in here too. This is some really, really excellent thrash metal though. Hyper speedy, very technical rhythms. Excellent lead guitar work. Yeah, excellent drumming. Very similar to a lot of Megadeth, especially the faster, speedier side of Megadeth. Okay, up next. Another one of my favorite debut albums here. This falls along the realms of Christian metal. We've got Tourniquet with Stop the Bleeding. Another excellent debut album here. Quite different. There's some progressive influences in here. Some neoclassical influences. But man, it's the playing on this freaking excellent. Ted Kirkpatrick is a drummer you never hear anybody talk about. He has got to be one of the best drummers in metal. I'm telling you. So yeah, Tourniquet, Stop the Bleeding. I believe Tourniquet just put out a new album. I gotta check it out. But if you like a more progressive style of thrash metal, I definitely recommend Tourniquet. The musicianship is just absolutely outstanding on this. Now, here's another one that's kind of debatable whether it's thrash metal or just speed metal. But I went with the debut by Avenger, Prayers of Steel, German heavy metal, obviously. Now, this band would go on to become Rage. That's right, Rage. So, yes, this is some excellent speed metal right here. Great debut. You know, what more can be said? Came out in 1984 on Mausoleum Records. Right. But yeah, they would put out an EP also before changing over to Rage and would release several albums. In fact, they have a total of 25 studio albums. They're still putting out albums to this day, and I believe they're working on a new album. So yeah, Rage with Prayers of Steel, or Avenger, excuse me, but great stuff. Okay, so that's pretty much all the CDs. Broke out a couple cassettes too because I don't have these on CD or vinyl. So yeah. Now this one right here, another one, yeah, it's kind of thrash metal, but it's a little progressive too in spots, and I'm talking about the debut by Wrathchild America, which has Shannon Larkin on drums, who would go on to drum for bands like Candlebox, Godsmack, but this is back when he played thrash metal. Yeah, Wrathchild America. Now, they were originally called just Wrathchild, but they had to change their name to Wrathchild America because of legal disputes, because another band was using the name Wrathchild at the time. And but Climbing the Walls is their debut. This is a really, really good debut. They do a pretty good cover of Pink Floyd's Time on here, too. You know? And the last track on here has got to be one of my favorite tracks, you know. Yes, Day of the Thunder. Holy crap, is that a good track. I'm sorry, Day of Thunder, excuse me there. Very good stuff right here. Day of Thunder is definitely very thrashy, very speedy, very good stuff, man. Yeah. Yeah, this is quite different. There's thrash metal. There's some progressive elements, you know. Some just straight up heavy metal moment. It's good though. Alright, up next. Another one, I only have one cassette here. Talking about the debut by Mortared, Fool's Game. Definitely their thrashiest debut. Well, this is their debut album. Definitely their thrashiest release. After this, they would really drop a lot of the thrash elements for a funkier, more groovier sound. But this is a pretty damn good debut. They do a very bizarre cover of Super Freak, you know. But yeah, man, if you like Death Angel, suicidal tendencies, that kind of thrash, definitely check out Mortared. Now here's a one I don't see many people talk about, you know, but the band's from the UK, if I remember correctly. They only ever released 2 studio albums back in the early 90s. Now this came out on Noise Records, I believe, yes. The band's called Damn. Human Wreckage is their debut album release here. Some very good thrash metal right here, man. Some good riffs on here. Yeah, man. And their second album, too, Inside Out's very good, too. I definitely recommend checking out Damn. Yeah, man, if you like heavy, chunky riffs, you know, you'll definitely dig this. Some very good thrash metal here. All right. Now, this right here, man, this is definitely one of the greatest debuts I've ever heard. I am talking about the debut by Deliverant. Came out in 1990, originally on Intense Records, and I have the original copy right there. on Intent. Man, is this a solid debut. Holy cripe. I'll tell you what, man, this thing is full of riffs. Very reminiscent to early Metallica, Slayer, with it's weird because they got like Queen's right style vocals, but really thrashy, chunky riffs. Yeah. Man, is this good. Victory's a great track, No Time is excellent. The Call was freaking awesome. Man, Temporary Insanity's great. This whole freaking debut by Deliverance is great. Definitely check it out. I do have it on CD too. Man, it's a good. Alright. Got a couple vinyls to show here. As far as debuts, this is all I have on vinyl. But now, I'm sure you all know a YouTuber, a pretty well-known YouTuber in the vinyl community, who has a massive CD collection, who was a massive inspiration on the reason why a lot of us started YouTube channels. I'm sure you all know who Scott Waters is. Well, this is his band Ultimatum, and the debut Symphonic Extremities. Have it on CD too. Now, I would probably consider Puppets of Destruction more of a debut album, to be honest, because this right here is pretty much just a collection of 2 demos, I believe. It's either 2 EPs or 2 demos, anyways. But I think this is a good debut. However, I do think Puppets of Destruction gets a bit thrashier. This one's more of a... It's still got thrashy rips, but to me there's a bit more melody on here. And Scott's vocals definitely sound a lot like Zetro from Exodus. You know? So definitely check out some Ultimatum. Yep. Oh man, yes. Great channel. Very cool guy. Yep. Excellent dude. I would definitely like to have Scott on my channel for an interview sometime. There's a lot of people I'd love to have on this channel. Man, if I could get Pete Pardo on here, that would be excellent. Or even Ralph Vieira. That would be awesome. Anyways, up next, here is one we all know. We all know this one, but you know what? You gotta throw it in there. You just gotta throw it in there because it's so iconic and legendary. Kill 'Em All, obviously. One of the greatest debuts of all time, in my humble opinion. Pretty much where thrash metal truly began. Right here. What more can be said about Kill 'Em All that hasn't been said already? Man, Hit the Lights. Hit the Lights might be the very first thrash metal song. Of course, you got other tracks too, like Motor Breath, The Four Horsemen, which was originally called The Mechanics, which Dave would use for Killing Is My Business too. You got The Phantom Lord, Metal Militia, Seek and Destroy. Come on, man. Jump into Fire, Whiplash, No Remorse. Hey, man. You can't do a thrash metal debut list without mentioning Kill 'Em All, man. Okay, up next. Well, this is another excellent debut album that I really, really enjoy and cherish. I'm talking about the debut by Artillery, Fear of Tomorrow. Man, is this a good thrash metal debut. Holy cow, is this good stuff. There's just a darkness to this album that's addicting, you know. I mean, Time Has Come's a killer track. King Thy Name is Slayer is a great track. Another great one's Out From the Sky, you know. Fear of Tomorrow, one of the best tracks on here. What a debut album by Artillery. And they got a new album coming out very soon. I'll definitely be getting it too. I'm a huge Artillery fan. And the last one I'm going to show is another thrash metal debut album that needs no further introduction because everybody that's into thrash metal should definitely know this album, Exodus, Bonded by Blood, my all-time favorite thrash metal debut album. Man, this thing's just vicious. This is the definition of thrash metal in my opinion. Yeah, Kill 'Em All is too, don't get me wrong. But this right here, man, maybe it's because of Paul Bailoff and the presence he had back then. Because Paul Bailoff was fucking thrash metal. Let's be honest here. And this right here is an excellent debut. Man, Bonded by Blood. The opening track, Murder in the Front Row, crowd begins to bang. There's blood upon the stage. Bang your head against the stage. Metal takes its place, bounded by blood. Of course, the title track, Exodus. And then there was none. Excellent rips in that track. Strike of the Beast is freaking ferocious. Metal Command. Very Motorheadish, Piranha, No Love. This whole album rules. And that's it for the thrash metal debut. Lots of great thrash metal to choose from there, And there's stuff out there I'm not mentioning, too. Stuff that I don't have that I gotta get again. Like, my God, I'm gonna mention a few right now. I do plan on getting these very soon, actually. And I used to have some of these, too. Testament's debut, The Legacy. What a debut. And I could slap myself for not actually having it. I used to have it. But that's one I'm definitely going to be getting again very soon because that's another great debut album. Man, Over the Wall. Excellent track. Burnt Offerings, great track. Curse of the Legions of Death. Another killer track. Do or Die rules. Yes. Return to the Apocalyptic City. Yes. The debut by Testament is definitely high up there. God, man, there's so many. It's on the tip of my tongue, too. Oh. Holy Wars, or Holy Terror. Mind Wars. I think that was the first album. I think Mind Wars was the first album by Holy Terror. That's another excellent thrash metal debut album. Lots of excellent stuff on that album. Their second album, Terror and Submission's fucking cool too. And there's a lot of modern thrash too I'm missing, like Eval's Enter the Grave. The first album by Warbringer. Yeah. Just so much. But you know what? We can do this again. We can definitely do this again. There could easily be a part 2 to this. Because there's other albums I'm definitely missing. But for now, those are my picks to what's in my collection. I probably have other stuff too buried that I'm missing to throw in here. And there's a couple that could be debatable. Like, I thought about putting Sanctuary's Refugee Denied in here. Because that's another one of them albums. Is it a thrash metal album or is it a power metal album? That's debatable. There's some thrash rips in it. To me, it's probably more along the lines of power metal. I think their second album's a little more thrashier, to be honest. But yes, Sanctuary, Refugees Denied could have easily been picked. I do have it too. I mean, there's so many albums. Even bands like Agent Still, League Lord. Very debatable whether they're speed metal or thrash metal, because sometimes you can't tell, And you have other bands too, like Toxic and their debut album, debuted by Heathen, Break Into Silence, which I had burned on CD, but I don't have a physical copy of it. I got to get that. That's the only Heathen I need for my collection. Other thrash metal albums would be, oh yes, Sodom's Obsessed by Cruelty. That's another debut album, or, In the Sign of Evil, the EP. I used to have those two. I don't have them anymore. Forbidden Evil, which was mentioned earlier. I mean, we could go on and on here when it comes to thrash metal. So yeah, expect more thrash metal talk on the channel. We might actually do sophomore releases next. Talk about second albums amongst the world of thrash metal that are excellent follow-ups to the debut. Yes, Toxic World Circus, that's it. I did used to have that too. I don't have it no more. Yes, so these are a couple albums I definitely got to get again. I'm trying to think of other albums. Believer Extraction from Mortality is a great debut album. That's thrash, along the lines of thrash, like death thrash, kind of like Sepultura, But there's another one. Oh yeah, Sacrifice, Torment, and Fire. That's another one. That's an excellent debut album. Man, that's another one I need to get to, because I absolutely adore that album. Just such a classic thrash metal album. But yeah, man, so many others out there. But you know what? We could talk about that all again. I think we covered a lot of good albums here. Throat's pretty exhausted. Thank you, John Lucio, for tuning in tonight on this talk about some of my favorite thrash metal debuts, best thrash metal debuts, whatever you want to call it. We will be back to do this all again. If you're new around here, subscribe. We're getting closer to 400 subscribers. We just hit 366. Please subscribe if you're new around here. Your support is much needed. I got the social media links down below. Check me out on Facebook, Instagram. Check out my band Holocaust over on Bandcamp. Links are all in the description. Now I'm selling t-shirts too. I'm just waiting for my copy of my Holocaust t-shirt to come, and I will do a separate video on that. I do have the Metal Bends Chronicles t-shirt. I do have it though, but I'm waiting for the Holocaust t-shirt to come. I do have a link for Teesprings down below too. If you're interested in getting a shirt, that would definitely help. And that's pretty much it, man. Keep it metal, keep it real, and stay fucking heavy. Peace.